So, hello everybody, and welcome to another Job Ready session. And can I just say, well done for turning up here today, because we speak to students all the time here at Pathway CTM, and I just the word I'm hearing is a little bit digital fatigue. There's so much stuff going on, at school, being asked to do things in college. You guys might have already left as well, and the only real way you can connect with employers is through online. So we're constantly looking at our screens, speaking to different employers and trying to figure out where we want to go, what we want to do, and the best way of approaching that. So well done for turning up. It might not be the full hour today, but it definitely will be a good session that we've got, because Hinkley Point C, EDF, we've got a great speaker who I'll introduce in a second. Some amazing jobs and some amazing outcomes potentially for you guys to learn from today. So I'm keen to get cracking. In terms of how you can communicate, guys, I'll be through it quite quickly for you. Chat box, you can put anything you want in the chat box, as long as it's professional, in terms of any comments you might have, etc. The Q&A box, though, that's the one that you want to put any questions in, because I'm always going to be looking at the Q&A box and I'll be asking our guest any questions that you might have. As soon as you've got a question, pop it in the Q&A box there, just like Louise has done. Louise, I think you're on yesterday's session, weren't you, asking some good questions? And you can, if you want, raise your hand, pop in the chat box that you want to speak, and we will let you speak. Big challenge to anyone who wants to do that, because often it doesn't happen, but I'd love it to. So there we go. What a fantastic caricature that is. Sorry, Tom, we don't have one for you on this occasion, or maybe you're not sorry. I don't think you need one.
Very disappointed. I'm very disappointed.
But guys, I set up Pathway 6 years ago. It's all about linking to really, really good employers who have got really, really good opportunities. I don't care if you go to uni, do a gap year, do an apprenticeship scheme. I just care that you choose what route is right for you. And I think there's some amazing employers out there who have amazing roles. So let's get cracking and find out about what they are in today's session. So I'm going to just quickly launch a poll. And before I do, Tom, would you just like to say hello and introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so a really, really warm hello from me. I'm based down in Somerset. You can currently see that I'm at home. And I just wanted to reiterate Chris's point. Look, I think you're awesome just for being online tonight. You've probably had a long day, but we're going to try to make this as interactive as possible, get lots of engagement, and hopefully it'd be a really useful session. My name is Tom. I work for a company called EDF, so an energy company, and I work exclusively at Hinkley Point C, which is a new power station being built just outside of Somerset, or in Somerset, just outside of Bridgewater. That's the nearest town. And I have an absolutely fantastic job. I'm the education lead, so I do lots of schools and college engagement, helping people like yourselves hear about the jobs and the opportunities at Hinkley Point C. And hopefully, some of you might think, oh, that sounds like a great place to work, and you come and work for us.
Sounds great to me, Tom. Thank you so much for that introduction. You're a legend for giving up your time this evening. So I know you've had a working day, but it's great that you're on here with us. And I'm pleased to say that on the poll results so far, the Southwest is winning in terms of turn-up rates. So 32% are from the Southwest of England. There we go. Have you been to one of our Job Ready sessions before? 57% saying it's their first time. So guys, really great to have you on board. 24% have been to one, and 23% have been to more than one and been following it very closely. So well done. The majority of you are year 12s, closely followed by year 11s. And we have had some people here, well done, for turning up, who have left school more than 3 years ago, who are looking for opportunities, and indeed those who have left school within the last 3 years, school or college, that is, whatever it might be. No teachers or advisors here today, so we'll keep it strictly focused on young people, which is important. What are you hoping to get out of the session? Tom, just so we know, the most important to our students and young people are they want to hear about Hinkley Point C and the opportunities available, which is a great place to be. So guys, I know we've got loads of content to go through today. I'm going to be the click master. That is my job from now on. Tom, tell me when to click and we will get cracking with some questions.
Okay, we will do our best. We will do our best. Okay, so again, thank you for joining. It's great to be able to talk to you this evening. We've obviously got year 11s, year 12s. We've got people who've already left school, so it's a bit of a mixed audience. So I will do my best to cover off as much as I can, and hopefully everything will be applicable, and you will find something in the next 10-15 minutes of talking, and then we'll have plenty of time for asking questions. All right, and like Chris has said, We want to keep the interaction high. So if you've got something to ask, please do so. Chuck it in the chat facility. Chris will be looking out for that for me while I go through slides. Just ask away. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Great opportunity to find out more about us as a company. All right, next slide then, Chris. So this is, right, I want you to just really hold on to this fact. It's about owning your future. All right, so whatever I say this evening, I want you to really, really think, how is this applicable to me? And if you've got no idea whatsoever what you want to do in the future, don't worry. I didn't. I'm not sure if Chris did. He may have always wanted to do what he does, may not have even existed when he was back in school, but don't worry. There's so many different job opportunities out there, and it's okay. All right. So we appreciate how confusing it can all be. Yeah. All right. But I want you to think about this. What do you want from a career? All right. And I want you to keep thinking about this question. What about me? What about me? What Tom is saying, what is he's explaining? How is this applicable to me? All right. That's going to be my challenge in the next few minutes. All right. Keep thinking. What about me? What about me? Does this sound good? All right. Next one. So I want you to use your imagination now, and I want you to fast forward 10 years, and I want you to think it's a working day, it's 6:30 in the morning, and your alarm clock goes off, okay? And rather than hitting the snooze button constantly, you know, staying in bed for an extra 5 minutes, goes off again, 10 minutes, 15, you've got a spring in your step, and you actually want to get out of bed, even though it's a works day. And you want to get out of bed for a number of reasons. Okay, so the first reason is you have a good salary. So cue the next bit, Chris. You have a good salary. And again, got no job worries. And again, and you got a trade for life. So I want you to think about, actually, you're getting paid a good amount of money and you've got good career prospects. And the fact that you've got no job worries is because you're entering an industry where there's a skill shortage. Okay. I want you to also think, next slide, please, that you're excited about going to work because you meet interesting people. Okay. You've got loads of people from different nationalities. They've worked on amazing projects all over the world, maybe nationally as well. And actually, they inspire you to be the very best that you can be. And they are good colleagues to be around. I want you to hold on to that fact. Next slide, please. And I want you to also think that when you come home, and when you're talking to your family, your friends, you do something that makes a difference. Okay, you've got satisfaction in your job, good career prospects, but on the whole, hold on to this fact that you're excited about going to work. You meet some amazing people, you do something that makes a difference, and you earn a decent salary. Okay, so I want you to hold on to that. So I really believe that all of those things, working with great people, doing something that makes a difference, and having a good career and good career prospects will come with a job through Hinkley Point C. And if we go to the next slide, please, Chris. Whatever you're interested in, I really think there's something for you at Hinkley. Hinkley Point C is currently the UK's and one of Europe's largest infrastructure projects. So it's a new nuclear power station being built just outside of Bridgewater in Somerset. We have an aging fleet of nuclear power stations across the UK. So we've got to build a new one. If we want to keep the lights on and we want to continue to produce low carbon electricity and not contribute to global warming and climate change, we've got to build new nuclear power stations. Nuclear is a key part of the UK's energy mix. So having renewables, having nuclear, to ensure that actually we can meet some of those targets, those ambitious targets that the UK has agreed to internationally in terms of carbon emissions and climate change, etc. So really believe that there's a role for you at Hinkley Point C. So if we go to the next slide, We said about doing something that makes a difference. Hinkley C on its own will be able to produce 7% of the UK's electricity supply, which is about 6 million homes. You can see 9 million tonnes approximately of CO2 avoided each year in every year of generation of Hinkley Point C. 3.2 gigawatt power station with 2 reactors. But the most exciting figure on this slide is over on the left, 25,000 job opportunities during the construction phase of the power station. 1,000 apprenticeship opportunities. So there are loads of opportunities, and you'll see in a minute from the slide, loads of different jobs that you could do at Hinkley. And that's during the construction phase. It then is full-time operation for at least 60 years, 900 full-time roles there. So if you do have the aspiration to go off to university, remember us at Hinkley, because you could graduate from university and then be one of those operational staff of the future. Okay, and if we go to the next one, please, Chris, it's just reinforcing the fact that we have got loads of different jobs and, again, helping Britain achieve net zero. Now, what I'd like you to do, please, in the chat facility is I'd like you just to think, okay, well, what kind of jobs are going to be available at Hinkley Point C? So some of you may have a good understanding of Hinkley already if you're based in the southwest and we've come to visit you. But think now, chuck in the chat facility, what kind of jobs do you think are available at Hinkley Point C? There's about 6,000 people working there today. So what kind of jobs do you think they are doing? Okay, so just chuck some things into the chat facility, and then I will unveil the next slide, or Chris will on my behalf.
And Tom, while that's happening there, someone's asked then, are these generated naturally so it does not damage the earth, in terms of the last slide?
Oh, what in terms of okay, so nuclear uses a process called nuclear fission to generate heat. So it's a nuclear reaction. So every power station works in the same way. Well, Chris, you're going to need to go back. Don't show. Every power station works in the way. So you need something that generates heat, so a heat source, which then boils water, which generates steam. Steam gets directed towards a turbine. The turbine goes round fast and fast and fast and fast and fast. It's connected to electromagnet, and that's what creates the electricity. Coal power station, you burn coal to generate that heat, to boil the water, to generate the steam. But of course, when you burn coal, it emits carbon. With nuclear, it doesn't emit any carbon dioxide. So that's why we call it low carbon. Okay, and that's why it's so important for net zero. And uranium that we use in that nuclear process is naturally mined, so it's available all around the world, uranium-235. Okay, so hopefully that answers that. Right, so have we got any answers? What kind of jobs are going to be available?
We've got a few. We've got construction, cybersecurity, many different factors, engineering, mechanical and computer orientated, hospitality. Interesting one. I'd be keen to know about that. Catering as well, coming in from Emily. Engineering coming in again, creating diagrams as pivot charts so they can check overall what was influenced in the. Okay, can't quite understand that comment just on that sentence. Maybe my fault.
Well, look, let's go to the next slide. Let's see what my word cloud suggests. So riggers, laggers, project controllers, scaffolders, pipe fitters, welders. People usually forget about catering and hospitality. So I think that was Emily. Did Emily say that?
Emily did. A couple others did as well too.
Okay, absolutely fantastic. Got to feed people. Okay, so if you have aspirations in food, hospitality, so welfare, looking after people, Hinkley is an incredible opportunity. Maintenance and repair, looking after all the service vehicles. Okay, logistics, getting people from A to B, getting resources from A to B. Huge number of roles. Cybersecurity, IT, making sure that people can't hack into your systems. And if you go to the next slide, Chris, we got some of these operational roles as well when the power station goes live. So document technicians, graduate apprenticeship roles, nuclear safety engineers, loads of different project managers still, radiation protection, etc., etc. So huge variety of roles there. Now, what I wanted to highlight to you at this point, if we go to the next slide, is our Young HPC program. So some of you may have heard of this before, and our Young HPC program is absolutely fantastic. It's for 16 plus, so from year 11 you can join. And if you are interested in Hinkley Point C, you can join the program and you can find out lots more about the program. You can meet some of our contract partners. You can get involved in skills development, soft employability skill development, etc. And you can find out before anybody else about opportunities with or on the project. So it could be an apprenticeship opportunity, it could be a higher level degree apprenticeship opportunity, etc. And you'll find out about that opportunity, how to apply, get some CV help, job application preparation, etc. And if we go to the next one,
I just wonder.
Sorry, Chris.
I was just going to ask, actually, in terms of being affected by COVID, did everything shut down and jobs were paused? But then I suppose it sounds like, you know, if you want employment where others might not be recruiting, it sounds like go to a nuclear power plant because there's jobs.
Well, you know, that's a really, really good point. We had to remain incredibly, you know, we had to be very careful about COVID regulations and to keep everybody safe and to keep our community safe. But the project hasn't stopped. It's of national significance. We need to make sure that this power station gets built. So it's carried on through COVID. It's now ramping back up. And like I say, you know, we were in a really fortunate position that we do have jobs. Okay, and there's lots of jobs to come. So it's very exciting. Okay, and what I'd like to do, if it works now and it's okay, we're gonna have a little break from me talking. I just want to introduce you to some apprentices who have done different apprenticeship courses. So this is on the YouTube video, Chris, if you're okay to switch over.
Yes.
So take a look, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. So this is not the opportunity to fall asleep. Okay, so really watch carefully.
Give me the thumbs up, Tom, if we can hear, okay?
Okay.
Thought work was something that everybody hated until I realised that there was other options out there for me.
The skills I've learned here will stay with me for the rest of my life.
I couldn't get a new job without experience. It's opened so many doors.
Hinkley Point C is the first nuclear power station project to be built in the UK for 30 years. When complete, this plant will provide safe, low-carbon energy. During construction, the project will provide 25,000 new job opportunities. We have an aspiration to have up to 1,000 new apprentices on the project. This project provides you a unique opportunity to learn new skills and to establish a solid foundation for your personal career. My name is Rob Jordan. I am the Site Construction Director for the project.
Well, I wanted to build myself a career. When I seen the Young HPC scheme and the apprenticeships that they had to offer, I thought this would be a brilliant way for me to be able to progress on something that would give me a transferable skill. In the project controls industry, it's very transferable and can be used in all different industries all over the world. I've also had chances to further my personal development by taking short courses on the side.
I attended the jobs fair that made me realise some apprenticeships that weren't available. I wanted to be more hands-on and develop skills for the future. I would say to anyone to go for it. You won't be disappointed. You'll learn from people, learn new skills, and you'll be part of the amazing project.
I have done an apprenticeship and I've also done a degree, neither of which were perfect for me. This is why I've been led down the degree apprenticeship route. HPC has given me loads of opportunities to learn a trade and get paid. It's best suited for me because whilst I love learning, I love actually doing something as well. If that is something that you want to get into, and the degree apprenticeship scheme is probably the best way forwards.
My journey originated in 1978 when I started my mechanical apprenticeship. And today, here I am, fulfilling the role of the Site Construction Director for a large nuclear power station project. This is undoubtedly the greatest project in the world. I urge you to seize the opportunity.
Okay, thanks for that, Chris. So you can see the reason for sharing that video is that you see someone who's on an apprenticeship course, so you can do that from 16 plus. But then you've got a higher level degree apprentice, which you can do from 18 plus. So if you have an aspiration to go to university and to get a degree, a higher level degree apprenticeship will enable you to do that. And both the apprenticeship and higher level degree apprenticeship route, you're paid to do it. Okay, so that's absolutely fantastic. And the Young HPC program, so all you have to do to get onto Young HPC is go to edfenergy.com/Young HPC, and the link's coming up later. You just register and you can learn more about all these different job roles. Okay, so for example, if we go to the next slide, on my word cloud, you know, I had said about, I think I put in industrial pipe work. So we're entering the next phase of the project. If you go to the next one, Chris, where putting things into buildings is our next thing. It's the mechanical, electrical and heat ventilation phase 2 of our project after civil construction. So you'll find out about engineering pipe fitting and what that's all about and how you qualify as a pipe fitter, what you might earn as a pipe fitter, etc., and what skills would be good to be a pipe fitter. Okay, so if you like fixing things, okay, and you like doing that at home, well, you could be an amazing pipe fitter. And if we go to our next one, and it could be like here, you're obsessed with detail. If you're obsessed with detail, you've probably got the right characteristics to be a nuclear grade welder. Okay, and again, the Young HPC program will explore what welding is, etc., how you can qualify, what the route's in, etc., and can you do an apprenticeship in it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if we go to our next one, the most important thing as we progress sort of with this session is to really think about, okay, well, what skills does somebody like Hinkley Point C, what skills does another employer, what do we look for? Okay, so if we're thinking about developing your skills and thinking about things to put on CVs and applications, what skills do people really want? Okay, so we've listed a few here and almost related them to things that you may do at school, outside of school, in college, etc. You know, so if you play any type of sport, that's brilliant for demonstrating teamwork. If you're good at gaming, well, actually, maybe you're quite good at understanding strategy, and you'll certainly have motor skills. If you go on to the links that I'm going to share later onto some of our videos that we've got on YouTube, one of the roles that I highlight on site is to be a crane driver. And actually, that is what Frank says. If you're good at gaming and you're good at controls, maybe you'll be an absolutely fantastic crane operator. Say about climbing and health and safety, fitness and etc. here, and communication. So, you know, you're a very social media literate group. Use that to your advantage. You know, that's a great way that you can communicate with people and bring that skill to life on applications, etc. If we go to the next one, Chris, and this is the big challenge, you know, what are you going to do now? You know, if you're a year 11, maybe, hopefully you've got your post-16 options sorted out and you might be thinking further afield. If you're in year 12, next autumn term, you will be thinking about your post-18 qualifications. And if you're not in school and college anymore, and maybe you started some work and you're not enjoying it, the challenge now, you know, what are you going to do? Okay, so it goes back to that question, what about me? How do I find a job where I'm excited about getting out of bed in the morning, doing something that makes a difference, working with amazing people and having a good salary and good career prospects in front of me? Now, we always, and the link's coming up a little bit later, we always encourage people to have a look at a website called startprofile.com. Has anybody, quickly yes or no in the chat, is anybody been on startprofile.com? Yes or no? Have you heard about it? Have you not heard about it?
Jake?
Yeah, I can see. So Jake's been on there, but a few no's. Now, you just literally start profile.com, you register, you log in, and you can put in your likes, your dislikes, what you're good at school and college, what you're not good at school and college. And it starts giving you job recommendations. So you might be now really sure, I want to do this. Okay, still go on to startprofile.com and have a look. See if it does match you to that job and career. You might be thinking, I've still got no idea what I want to do. Would encourage you to get on there and have a look. Now, when you start matching your likes, your dislikes to actual jobs and careers, you can then start looking for jobs. Okay, so lots of employers have job pages where they demonstrate job vacancies. The government have an apprenticeship page where they advertise apprenticeship opportunities, which is absolutely fantastic. And in the example of us at Hinkley Point C, through the Young HPC program and our job service, we advertise opportunities that are coming up on the project. Now, the key thing, of course, when you're looking at a job advert and you're trying to apply for a job, is really thinking about skills, qualifications and behaviours. And that's what we're now going to talk about. So if we go to the next slide, please, Chris, and stop there before we unveil. What I want you to think about now, what's the difference between skills, qualifications and behaviours? So chuck into the chat facility, what do you think a skill is? And what do you think a qualification is? So let's go for skills first. What do you think a skill is? Okay.
And just to touch on there, Jake said that school recommended startprofile.com after talking to the career pilot about nuclear engineering because it's linked to EDF energy. I wonder, Jake, if you're interested in a career on the site. Sounds like you're pretty well equipped to apply.
That sounds good. That sounds
Ryan, who actually spotted the hospitality sector as one of notable significance at a power station, saying something that you learn over time in terms of skill.
Okay, so a skill, something that you learn over time. So without unveiling, Chris, so don't say anything just yet. We've got Louisa saying about soft skills like communication, teamwork, things that can't be learnt at school. Okay,
Emily saying skills are things that you are good at.
Okay, all right, fantastic. Some great answers there. So hold those thoughts. What do you think a qualification is? Okay, so we've got one answer that's saying, you know, qualifications is how far you progress with your studies. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so what qualifications? What do we think about qualifications?
And well done, Natalie, for getting in skills on things you develop. Then we've also got skills or experiences that have been processed and learned over and over. Qualification is how far you progress with your studies, what you say.
And then Ryan has said there, you know, something that you've been taught. So that's a qualification. Mm-hmm. All right. And something that you have achieved. And then finally, what do we think behaviours are? So what do you think I mean by behaviours? Okay, again, Louise, that's brilliant. Attainment in academic or vocational studies for your qualifications. What do you think behaviours? So, I mean, what does that mean if someone says about your behaviour? Okay, so Emily said about your personality. Okay. Anything else? Someone's actions. Okay, that's good. Behaviours, how you act, like your mannerisms. Behaviours come and go. It's feelings come from our gate. You know, brilliant, wonderful answers. Now, if we go to our next slide, or if we click next, Chris.
Yeah, well done, guys.
These are the definitions that I've got, you know, so the skills are the abilities that you've learnt, all right? Qualifications are the skills that you've been taught, and behaviours are the way that you act or you respond in a certain situation. Okay, so for example, you know, qualifications, your GCSEs, your A levels, but also that could be you need a driving license to drive a car. Okay, so that's the qualification that you have to get. Skills, things like, you know, problem solving, behavior, you know, being responsible. So you've got your driving qualification, or you've got your qualification to drive, which is your driving license. And then actually your behavior is being responsible when you're driving that car. okay, and how you act in that car, and being respectful of speed limits, etc., and driving safely. Okay, so skills, qualifications, and behaviours are really what people are looking for when they bring in CVs and applications. All right, so it's important really that we understand the definition of skills, qualifications, and behaviours. And if we click onto the next one, what we've done at Hinkley Point C, okay, is we've created a number of different resources where you can explore your skills a little bit more. Okay, so these slides will be shared by Chris, so don't worry about the links, etc. But we've got a skills and behaviour section of our website. Okay, so you can go in there and you can explore your skills and behaviours a little bit more. Okay, and then you need to think about, okay, what qualities then do I have that I need to demonstrate on my CV, application, interview, etc. Also, we've got a great bit on there about CV writing, and I know that's been covered off by different employers if this is not your first session with Pathway CTM, but we've got some information on there as well about CV writing and how you promote yourself and get ready for online interview, etc. Not many people say this, okay, but this is really, really important. You must shout about the fact that you came along to a session like this, okay? If I was interviewing or reading a CV and a job application and you said, God, I went along after school, after college to a Pathway CTM event, or I joined Young HPC, or I've been involved in the Duke of Edinburgh or National Citizenship Programme, anything like that, it's absolutely fantastic. And you must shout about it. And then also as a final link, you know, we've also a huge number of apprenticeship opportunities, and there's some links on there of how you can find out more about those opportunities and actually how an apprenticeship actually works. So for some of you, this might be the first time you've ever heard about an apprenticeship. Hopefully not, but there's a link on there. Right, if we go to our next slide, Chris.
Great. And Tom, just a quick question, actually. We've got Jake here who's really keen on applying. He said he has very strong hands-on background, so he wants to do something hands-on like mechanics and or engineering. And one thing he'd hate to do is sit on a desk all day long, so he wants to get into this industry. Is it good to also shout about being honest and stuff like that at interviewing, being like, look, I don't want to sit on the desk, I want to be varied, this is why I want to work here?
Yeah, I think if you're hands-on and that's what you want to do, well, you need to say that. You need to say, I'm applying for this apprenticeship in X, or I'm applying for this role in Y, because I like working with my hands. I like being out and about. I like building things. I like fixing things, you know, because for a recruiter, that's what they're going to be looking for. You know, they're not going to try to put, you know, a round peg in a square hole. You know, you've got to shout about, well, that's my passion, that's my, you know, what I want to do in life. Yeah, so make sure you bring that out in your CV.
And it's great to hear Tom as well saying that, you know, he really values young people turning up in their own time. So yeah, again, well done guys for being on here at 5:30 at night.
Oh yeah, gosh, without a doubt. Now for us, you know, about if you want to impress us as Hinkley Point C, we've got a page, all the statistics about Hinkley Point C. If you're going to come and work on the project, you've got to understand what it is and why we're building it. We've also got a very, very specific part which talks about the behaviours that we look for. Okay, so we have project behaviours. So you can click on there. You can also then visit our jobs service page. Okay, so it's another link, and don't worry, it will be shared. Our job service page provides you with current vacancies. So actually you can look at a job advert and find out what are people asking for, you know, under the requirements section. And then you can start to link what your qualifications are like currently, or maybe what you have to aspire to get, but also what skills you need to think, oh gosh, you know, I've done this over here. I need to bring that out into the application process a little bit more. And then also, you know, for us, what we're doing at Hinkley Point C, so a new nuclear license site, first nuclear power station in a generation being built. Well, why are we building it? So to understand about, you know, climate change, global warming, and sort of net zero ambitions is also really important. Okay, if we go to our next one, please, Chris. And you've got to think, we can rattle through, how can you be the best candidate? So find a role you like the look of. So go to something like Start, find a role, then think about what skills is that employer looking for? What skills do I have and how do I demonstrate those skills? And if you go to the next one, please. And how can you be the best candidate? So I've said that we've got links on our pages to help you with CV and application writing, etc. But really unpick that job description. Okay, really think, what do they want me to demonstrate? What do I need to try to highlight on my CV? And don't worry, if you're 16, if you're 18, you're not going to have an exhaustive CV, but just be honest. Think, you know, this is what I do outside of school. This is what the extra things I've done within school, and link it to some of those top skills and behaviours. Okay.
You mentioned that I was speaking to a telecoms company earlier that many people might have Wi-Fi from, and they were the same. They were like, look, you know, people leaving school or college, we don't really care where the examples come from, but we just want to know that you're thinking about it and relating it back to the job. You know, we're not expecting you to have the same experience as Tom and I because we've been in work. It's not at all the case. But as young people, we often think that employers we always think we're not good enough, don't we, sometimes, and we don't have that experience that nobody else has.
Yeah, without a doubt. But highlight, I really mean this, you know, really think about what things that you've done. So highlight sessions like this, that go a long way. Other things that you can do. So we said about Young HPC, we've also got like a careers insight program. So this is really aimed towards year 10s and year 11s, but there is a post 16 one coming as well later on, we hope end of June. Difficult at the moment in terms of work experience, you know, because people haven't been able to do things face to face, but there are loads of organizations that are now offering these virtual career insights or virtual work experience opportunities. So we've got a career insight. We'll run another work experience for year 10s and year 11s beginning or end of June. So week commencing 21st of June. The post 16 one is coming as well. Do that. You know, a lot of it is all driven in your own time, at your own speed. You get certificates at the end of it and highlight it on your CV. Because if I was interviewing, I would say, right, have you been to Hinkley Point C? Have you done our insight programs, etc.? So it would be an absolutely big tick. Okay, now if we go to our next one, Chris. Keeping up to date with Hinkley is really easy, you know, so Instagram, Twitter, etc. And if we go to the next one, I talked about that gaming video. This is a little misleading now because the playlist is all being changed around, but I'm going to send Chris a playlist link that he can circulate to you all. We've got over 40 different apprentice and career insight films now on a playlist. Okay, highlighting different roles that you may never have thought about, don't know anything about, and then information about wider apprenticeship schemes, a day in the life of an apprentice, more about Young HPC, etc. Okay, all contained within our EDF UK HPC Career Insight and Apprenticeship film playlist. So make sure we send that link, and I would encourage you to take a look at that. Okay. That's where you can find it. And again, that Young HPC program, if any of this has sounded interesting to you, really encourage you to join the Young HPC program. It's free, loads of opportunity, loads of support to get you closer to the project, to hear about those roles and those opportunities. So that's what I would encourage you to do. So I'm going to stop there. Yeah, be part of it. And here we are for questions and answers. So if you have some, please ask away. I don't know if you've captured any as we've gone, Chris.
Yeah, I was just on mute trying to communicate, then I realised why you were ignoring me. Tom, thanks so much for that. And I just think it's great that it's all free and it's just stuff to help young people get on the ladder and get these amazing roles. I learned a lot from that actually. I hadn't thought about hospitality careers, and you always hear about the doom and gloom around the economy when we were in the pandemic and in the heat of it. And actually, there's so much stuff going on. So I think it's great that we can bring that to young people and all those job roles. It looks so exciting. But question time. Louise kicked us off by saying, Tom, what's the best thing you have done at EDF?
Oh gosh, I went to France with EDF and I met, EDF is a French-owned company. I went to France and learnt how the French engage with schools and things like that. That was a wonderful thing to do. But sometimes just the basic things, be able to talk to young people, get to go to Hinkley Point C and see it, and see it progress. That's very exciting. That's a great question. Thank you.
And Emily, you've asked a question around grades and not benefiting students. Would you want to just maybe re-ask that and just think exactly what you want to get from that? Just trying to decipher that question. Sorry if I'm being difficult there, but just maybe ask it in another way, then I'll ask that. At what time do you have to wake up to be an apprenticeship, but to be on an apprenticeship? So I suppose if you're in construction, surely it's early mornings, isn't it? I always see construction people out.
Yeah, so it varies depending on what you're doing. I think construction as a whole, often works in shift patterns, depending on the size and the scale of a project. But yeah, on the whole, I would say at Hinkley, most people are starting or coming through the gates sort of 7 onwards. Some people might be working through the night, which suits some people, doesn't suit everybody. So again, you really have to think about that. And again, start profile, it puts in things like that. What would you think about doing a night shift? Some people might love it, some people might hate that. But if shift work is going to be part of your career, better to find out before you start that career, and then be disappointed later on. So
definitely. Tom,
I don't start at 6.
No, quite right. Tom, good question here. Saying, excuse me, I'm getting struggling there. How inclusive are Hinkley with learning difficulties, such as dyslexia and dyspraxia?
Oh, fantastic! That's a super question. Who asked that one?
We didn't get their name, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Well, super question. Very, very supportive teams. So that shouldn't be a challenge. It really shouldn't be a challenge, or shouldn't be a barrier to you wanting to apply. We've got a supported traineeship program, which we've run now for a number of years. So if you go onto the Young HPC program, we can talk to you a little bit more about that and how you access that. Okay, but there's lots of support there, and I think on the whole, a lot of employers are very supportive. Okay, so don't let that be a barrier.
No, love that. Thanks, Tom. And it's inspiring to hear that. And I know so many employers now really care and they're doing amazing things around inclusivity to make sure, for example, I heard recently, if you say on your application form for many big brands that you do, need more time or you're dyslexic, whatever it might be, if you say that, they can actually give you more support sometimes. And, you might even get a phone call or an email from the employer to give you that extra support because you deserve it, because it's your learning style. Everyone learns in different ways.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Chris, and flag it during application. Yeah, for telephone interviews, assessment centres, about being given extra time, just in the same way that you have been or got used to at school and college.
Exactly. Brilliant. Emily did rephrase that question for me. Thank you, Emily. You're a hero for doing that. And it's a really good one. So some students did not receive the grades they were expecting because of COVID. This makes us look worse than the year before or the following year. Tom, what are your comments as an employer on the difficulties we've been through this last couple of years?
Oh, gosh. Well, yeah. And what a difficult year it's been, really, really difficult for so many people. And I think, it's been an exceptional year. For you all as students and sitting exams, and you may feel that you have not got the grades that you were predicted, by school or college, and they don't reflect what you might have achieved otherwise. you know, and or maybe, you know, you didn't achieve the grades that you thought you would get pre-COVID if you're a little bit older. But I think what you've got to think about in this scenario is a lot of people have gone through the same thing. Okay, you can put down what your qualifications are, irrespective of whether or not you think they're lower or higher than what they should be. Really sell your skills, really sell all your extra other bits. Employers like us, we know that you've been through a challenging time. Okay, so we appreciate that, we understand that. It's something that we tell all the hiring managers. We know that you've been through a troubling time, but I would recommend not to use it as a sort of a barrier or an excuse. You want to be right, this is what I've got. Okay, might be disappointing, and maybe you can say that, but then move on and say, you know, I'm still got the appetite to learn. If you're doing an apprenticeship, you will continue your learning journey. All right, so you've got to demonstrate that you've still got that thirst and that appetite to learn and to progress, and sell it that way, really. But people are aware, you know, employers are aware of how much of a struggle it's been. Okay, and you know, and people sympathize with that. Okay, but I wouldn't labor the point too much, as in, oh, I've been so hard done by, etc. You know, just think, right, okay, this is what I think I could have got, but actually, let's move on. Next step of my career, you know, thirst for knowledge, thirst for learning, and move on from there, I think. I don't know if you would agree with that, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, the top three in the top 5 skills, I know number one of what employers are looking for in the next 5 years. Number one is resilience, actually. You know, and resilience isn't about how academic you are, is it? And number 2 is emotional intelligence. Tom, you know, so I think those soft skills and what you've done through COVID, such as turning up to things like this, I think that's the new measure of success in the years where the grades maybe haven't been consistent. And I think you could probably argue them. I think it's a case of going to employers like Tom and say, this is me. This is like Tom said. I don't agree with the grades given to me by my teacher, but this is what I do have to offer. And this is what I've done over the last couple of years.
Yeah, quickly spin it into that positive.
Yeah, indeed.
You know, and then maybe, you know, on that point of positivity, you know, there may be things that you've done out in the community in the last year, even if it's helping a next door neighbor with shopping or something, which, you know, will go a long way on an application. Okay, so think about, you know, I've demonstrated resilience by always being online and ready for lessons. I've done this within my local community and made the most of actually a bad situation to help my wider community out. You know, really try to spin everything in a sort of a most positive way that you can.
Definitely. Thanks, Tom. And with that in mind, we've had a question: which soft skills are most important, and what skills do you look for in people?
Oh, wow. Okay, so for me, one of the biggest is communication. You know, even if you're really, really shy, being able to look somebody in the eye and just hold that conversation is really, really important. You know, being able to talk to teammates, you know, and it might be a learned skill, you know, as you develop in an apprenticeship or a job, but being able to communicate, being honest. So if you've done something wrong, admit to it, you know. Honesty goes a long way. And I think for me, lastly, you know, a lot of people say about teamwork, very rarely does anybody work in isolation. Okay, so having the ability to work with people and work in any sort of size team, you know, it's a bit of a cliche, a bit of an old one, but that for me personally, probably the top 3. But do look at some of those website links, you know, top skills, top behaviours, you know, because there's a few on there, and you'll be able to link it to something, I'm sure.
Fantastic, Tom. I want to get through these questions because there's some good ones. Are there any good books which you have read in this area of engineering which you might recommend? I mean, I know, Tom, I'm not sure if you are an engineer, but maybe
that's a super question. I'm not an engineer by trade. I do love projects of, you know, engineering is about overcoming problems, isn't it? Now, online, very geekily, I've had a look at the engineering behind the Waveguard and Bristol Wave system. which I think is very, very cool and very, very neat. So it's not a book, but I've looked into that.
Thank you very much, Tom, for that. So an even better question, I might say, that was a great one. If you could ask your younger self to change something or any advice, what would it be and why?
So say that one more time. So if you could ask yourself.
It's slightly, so I think what it's trying to say is if you could ask your younger self to change something, or would you give yourself any advice? Yeah, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh gosh, what a great one. I wish I asked. I wish, to be honest, I wish I had asked more questions about jobs. My father was a vicar and my mum was a nurse. Okay, so I didn't want to do those two things. My grandfather was an absolutely incredible engineer, had a very successful business, employed loads of apprentices. I never asked him enough about engineering. I didn't really know what an apprentice was till I was sort of early 20s. So I didn't even know that was a route for me, like, at all. I think, you know, now there's so much information out there where you can explore and you can find different sort of post-16, post-18 routes. So I think it's a little bit easier for you nowadays. So that would be my encouragement. Ask questions, explore, you know, talk to friends and family, you know, about their job. Are they excited about getting out of bed in the morning? You know, and if not, what would they do differently? Because the more research you can do now, you know, the more likely you are to wake up with a spring in your step in the future.
No, fantastic. 3 more questions to get through, and this is a topical one. Many, you know, female into technology campaigns that we see in our industry. But the question is, does your IT department have a mixture of females and males? Because often it's dominated by males, we get told, isn't it?
Okay, I hand on heart, I don't know, but certainly something that we're trying to do as a project and as a wider organisation is be inclusive as possible. The numbers of females working on Hinkley Point C is higher than the national average, which I think is absolutely fantastic, and long may it continue. So I would say, don't ever let it put you off. Okay, please don't, you know. But I can't hand on heart tell you how many is in the IT department.
But maybe you can tell us, how many breaks do you have in a day? It does depend on working hours, but you know, what is it like to be in a job and an apprenticeship? Do you get breaks whenever you want? Or?
Oh yeah, you get good breaks. You get you know, you get more breaks than me. You get more breaks than me, I'm sure. You know, everything is about welfare, isn't it? Everything's about making sure that you got, you know, you access to your water, access to your food, etc. You know, nice breaks to make sure that you can switch off. Yeah, so you're very, very well looked after, you know, and the catering facilities and things like that at Hinkley and our associated sites are second to none. It's one of the biggest things I have missed, our Friday breakfasts as a team. You know, lovely, massive breakfasts are about £5. Brilliant.
Fantastic. No, it sounds good to me. And I'm just gonna wind up there, guys, because we're going to come for a couple more questions, but just in case of those of you who have to leave, I popped in the chat box the Job Ready webpage where you can sign up for our future events every Wednesday. And there are some great sessions on there. Tom mentioned about the job descriptions, and we've got a great session from Danny from the co-op who deciphers the job description and tries to help you relate it back to what you want from a job. So I think that's a really good session for you guys to be able to look at. And this video will be online as well by the end of the week. But the more questions do come in for you, Tom, so we'll keep going. Yeah. Do you have to pass the CSCS exam to go on site?
The CSCS, I think that's CSNSG. So there are prerequisites of coming onto site and getting your site badge. But you know, again, you know, with a little bit of practice, a little bit of research and revision, it's all okay to pass.
Tom, is there any heavy lifting?
Heavy lifting. Okay, if there is heavy lifting, it will be, you know, all within requirements of how you lift things correctly. You know, but we got some of the biggest, largest cranes in the UK and in the world on site. So any heavy lifting is done by those.
Get them to do it. Sounds appropriate. Do you have welfare vacancies?
Welfare vacancies. Okay. Oh, that's a good question. I think you'd have to look on the job vacancy page. So on the HPC jobs page to see if there are any welfare vacancies. But you know, if welfare is encompassing hospitality, catering, cleaning, we're going to have loads of opportunities over the course of the project.
Fantastic. And I think that's all the questions we have got in there. Just one final one, actually. In terms of proof of dyslexia, I mean, how hot are employers on proving things that you know, if you say with your special educational needs, is it really important you can prove something, Tom, I wonder?
I think, you know, I think if you have a genuine, something that's, you know, that's genuine, and you're able to, you know, say that that's an issue for you, I think, you know, that's fine. Yeah, I think, you know, don't ever let it be a barrier, you know, because, you know, there's, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
No, it's not like people are going to put it down if they haven't got that situation. So just be honest, and I think employers will just take your honesty.
Exactly. You know, and I think in closing, you know, all these links that I've provided, you'll give access to them, Chris. Hopefully that'd be amazing. You know, and whatever you choose to do, in the future, you know, for me personally, from the wider team here at Hinkley, we just wish you all the best, you know, and we hope you can just make that informed choice about what you want to do. And if it's with us or whether it's somebody else, we just hope you have an absolutely fantastic career.
Thank you, Tom. We get the best speakers on the Job Ready program, and you're no different to that. It's been a really engaging session, really honest and open from yourself. Some great feedback. So, Tom, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. All the best, everybody.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.